got this, I'm winning. I'm not a quitter, so I'm not fucking quitting. Just try to stop me and you'll drop dead missing.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, timekeeper and debate participants, both from the affirmation team and the opposition team. This afternoon, we will have a debate session. Before that, I will explain the rules in this afternoon debate session. The first, during the debate session, participants are not allowed to turn the microphone except when requested by the chairperson and required to turn on the camera. The second, it is not allowed to convey arguments that have element of sara and swear words to the opponents of the debate. The third, each speaker is given 3 minutes to present the arguments. Number four, interruptions are carried out by activating the raise hand features and are allowed to speak for 15 seconds if the interrupted speaker accepts the interrupt. And the fifth, if there is a violation of these rules, then the team is considered disqualified. All right, that's the rules of our debate session today. The motion that will be presented in this debate session is this House will allow same-sex marriage. To start this debate session, I invite the first speakers from the affirmation team to present their arguments. Time begins when you speak.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to Chairperson and timekeeper for letting me speak. At this opportunity, I'm Mochtar, the first speaker of the affirmative team. Beside me, Mrs. Dita A as the second speaker, and Mr. Adnan as the third speaker. This House considers that same-sex marriage should be permitted anywhere in the world. Same-sex marriage is about loving each other. Like heterosexual, many lesbian, gay, and bisexual people want to homestable, long-lasting relationship, and many of them do. In fact, researchers have found that the majority of lesbian and gay adults are in committed relationships, and many couples have been together for 10 or more years. There are of arguments for the legalization of same-sex marriage. Firstly, and most importantly, denying some people the right to marry is discriminatory and gives the impression that homosexuals belong in an inferior class. Not to forget, it is a violation of their civil rights. Besides, the marriage bans cause humiliation and loss of identity for children raised by same-sex couples. Additionally, contrary to many people believe, marriage is not only for procreation, otherwise infertile couple not wishing to have children would be prevented from marrying. On the contrary, marriage is an act of affection that everyone should be granted. Another point is that civil unions are not always enough since they do not offer the same legal benefit as marriage. Even when the law says they should, because they are not as understood or respected. So we strongly declare that same-sex marriage should be permitted. Among a lot of people, it is believed that sexual orientation is a choice, and hence same-sex marriage should not be permitted. However, this belief is wrong. We cannot choose who we love, and we should not treat people differently and strip them of their right because of their sexual orientation. As long as no one is being harmed, everyone has the right to pursue happiness.
Thank you for the first speakers of the affirmative team. Then the next is I allow to the first speakers of the opposition team to deliver the arguments. Time begins.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank the chairperson who have given me the opportunity. Allow me to introduce myself and my colleagues as opposition team. I am usually Imam Raja Prayoga as speaker first, then Malisa Oktaviana Agustin as speaker second, and Bara Athaya M as the third speaker. First, I would like to emphasize that the first and most important reason why we reject this matter is we do not agree if same-sex marriage is legalized. Quoted from Journal 19 regarding the pros and cons of LGBT licensing. It is said that the rejection of same-sex marriage or LGBT has nothing to do with human rights, but rather to how to the future of the country itself, especially Indonesia, will depend on the next generation. If same-sex marriage is legalized in Indonesia, it is heard that it will trigger future generation to not have a sexual identity, namely, how a person views himself either as a man with his masculinity or as a woman his her femininity. And of course, this is one of the losses for the Indonesian people from same-sex marriage. It is also said in a journal about LGBT deviation. This that discuss the impact or other harm caused if same-sex marriage is legalized. Namely, there will be an increase in HIV sufferers, which will spread rapidly. Even if same-sex marriage in other countries is acceptable, but in fact, sociologically, in Indonesia, it has no place. This is because Indonesia has a variety of religious people, and in every religion forbids this relationship. And in Indonesia, homo and lesbian acts are also contrary to Pancasila and the 1945 Constitution and Law Number 1 of 1974 concerning marriage in the field of marriage, which states that a husband and a wife which states that a husband and wife are man and woman, not a married gay or lesbian couple. And in social terms, same-sex marriage has a detrimental impact to social function, especially in family institution, reported in the Journal of the Dictionary of the Islamic University. Regarding family function, it is stated that the family is the main pillar in carrying out socialization in social life, which in it there are members who work together such as father, mother, and children. This means that in this system includes at least a man who plays the role of a father and a woman who plays a role as a mother, who then they will have a children. And if is reviewed in the case of same-sex marriage, this will not be fulfilled because, as we know, that same-sex couples, whether male and male or gay, or female and female or lesbian, will never have children. And if the family system is not created properly, it will also have an impact on the survival of the Indonesian nation. So, with this, we still refuse if same-sex marriage is legalized. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the speakers one of the opposition team. And now it's allowed to the second speakers of affirmative team to deliver the arguments of their teams. Time begin when you speak.
Thank you for the opportunity, Chairperson. Regarding the family sector opposition, second mentioned earlier, I will discuss something in our 2010 review of Filterly, every study on gay parenting. New York University sociology student Stacy and University of Southern California sociologist Tim Biblers found no difference between children raised in homes with two heterosexual parents and children raised with lesbian parents. Indeed, there is a report from Paul Solins published in the British Journal of Education, Society and Behavioral Science. Children raised by same-sex parents are twice as likely to experience emotional problems as children raised by parents of the same sex. However, this report has drawn criticism because the methodology used does not take into account the relationship status of same-sex parents. Uh, Same-sex parents, whether they are still together or not. Regarding same-sex marriage that cannot have children, we can see the positive side of it being one of the solutions related to social problems such as population density. They decide to adopt a child, so from a socio-economic point of view, they can improve the welfare of a child who has no parents or is an orphan, abandoned children, or children who have been handed over to their parents because their parents are not financially capable. And then the existence of official ratification of same-sex marriage can be a source of state income. An estimate 293,000 same-sex couples have married since the U.S. Supreme Court decision in Obergefell House, which extended marriage equality nationwide in June 2015. As this couple married, their wedding generated an economic boost for state and local economy nationwide. We estimate that wedding spending by this couple and their out-of-state goers has boosted state and local economic by an estimate $3 billion and generate an estimate $244.1 million. In state and local sales tax reforms since the Obergefell decision, the spending supported an estimated 45,000 jobs for one full year. That's all for me. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the second speakers of the affirmative team. Then it's allowed to the second speakers of the opposition team to deliver the arguments. Time begin when you speak.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity, Chairperson. And thank you for Mrs. Dita. For your information, the number of homosexuals in Indonesia is increasing from year to year, especially in big cities. Based on the records of NGOs and the West Java AIDS Commission, in West Java, the number of gay people is estimated at 6,000, and in Bandung, is estimated at 60,055 people in 2015. In addition, in Depok in 2015, there were about 5,791 gay people and 146 people infected with HIV and AIDS to people. So what's the matter? As we know, HIV in AIDS is a serious disease. This is what causes an increase in the economic burden of the state. Then, most of these homosexuals are not accepted by the Indonesian people. So many are unemployed. If they get married, then how do they live other than being a commercial sex worker? And the results of Ramdhani Afnidar's research entitled An Overview of Risky Lifestyles Among Homosexuals in the City of Medan revealed that there are often problems faced by homosexuals, like society that doesn't accept the existence of the homosexuals. With this, it will affect the psychology of homosexuals perpetrators. Even worse, if the homosexual perpetrator is not strong members of society, then the intention will appear to kill himself. So, with the legality of same-sex marriage, it will increase the number of HIV and AIDS in Indonesia, thereby increasing the economic burden on the state. That's all for me. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the second speaker. Then for the last session of this day, I will allow the third speakers of the affirmative team to deliver the arguments for the I begin when you speak.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson, for the opportunity. I'm Adnan A from the Pro Team for Same-Sex Marriage. Of course, I agree with the understanding that we have conveyed and reject with all respect the understanding conveyed by the counter team. In the same-sex marriage, behind the controversy that is present in the community, must have positive things too, as previously explained by my partners, also Rais and Dita. The state and society must campaign for the principle of non-discrimination between men, women, transgender people, heterosexual, and also homosexual. There are two things that cross the LGBT people, namely between norms and justice. For LGBT people, norm and justice cannot necessarily go hand in hand. Their existence, which is considered different by other, let's talk about the normal people, is considered inconsistent with religious and cultural norms. Even though we as humans who uphold human values should be able to appreciate this. And Indonesia, as a state of law, guarantees freedom of expression in the 1945 Amendment 2, namely Article 28E, Paragraph 2, which states everyone has the right to freedom to believe in beliefs, to express thoughts and attitudes according to his conscience. So every individual should be able to show the meaning of guaranteed freedom of the expression. Thank you. I return to chairperson.
Well, thank you, the third speakers of the affirmative team. It's allowed to the third speakers of the opposition team to deliver the arguments. Time begin when you speak.
Okay, thank you, Sultan, as a chairperson for the opportunity, and thank you, Arik, for the explanation from your affirmative team. Now, allow me as the third speaker in opposition team in this debate to present conclusion and reaffirm what my friends have said. If we look at the law in our country, there is a law that regulates the provision of same-sex marriage, namely the 1945 Constitution and Law Number 1 of 1974 and Pancasila as the basis of the Indonesian state. The law explained that a married couple is a man and a woman, not a married not a married gay or lesbian couple. If you look at the biological and health side, same-sex marriage will not able to produce offspring. Reporting from the result of research conducted by Ramdhani Afnidar explained that there are often various problems faced by homosexuals because their environment cannot accept their existence. This can affect the psychological of the homosexual itself. Based on records from the AIDS Commission, it is said that in 2018, around 49 and 71 people who are homosexual, 146 of them are infected with HIV and 20 of them are infected with AIDS. This disease will certainly affect the economy of our country. Same-sex marriage, however, is an act that is not accordance with human nature when born into this world. It is true that in human rights, which explain the freedom of association, it is clear that every human being has the right to decide his or her own life path and must be respected and protected by the government. But apart from the human rights, we also have the basic obligation in living this life of the nation and state, and we must to respect each other. Reporting from the journal Rights Finding about same-sex marriage in the perspective of law and human rights explained that in carrying out human rights and freedom, there are restrictions regulated in 1945 Constitution, which states that everyone must be orderly in carrying out social life and be subject to restriction set by the law, with the aim of guaranteeing religious, social, and moral values and in our social life. In various religions, especially in Indonesian, it is also strictly prohibited the act of same-sex marriage because it's an act that is not accordance with religious norms. The majority of Indonesian population is a Muslim. In Islam, there is a verse in the Al-Quran that discusses the prohibition of same-sex marriage, namely in the letter of Al-Hujurat verse 13, which explain every human created with a man and a woman to know each other, love, and produce offspring. Therefore, based on the explanation that I have explained, same-sex marriage does not reflect life based on Pancasila, violates human nature, contradicts human rights, and exciting religious values. With the all various consideration, we still do not agree with the existence of same-sex marriage in our country. It is all for me and my team. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the both of the teams. With the completion of the presentation of the arguments from the third speakers of opposition team, with this, the debate session has ended. Let's give applause to the participants. With this, I conclude the debate session. Thank you for the participation of the participants, as well as the timekeeper and the enthusiasm of the audience in today's debate session. Wabillahi taufik wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.